Hello, Greg from Balloon Market here, and welcome to BMTV. Mark from Qualatex is back. I keep doing this. Mark from Qualatex is back with us, and today he's going to tell us all about creating columns. Mark, thank you very much for coming in to see us. So, over to you really, columns. What are columns? When do you use columns, and what do you need to create columns?
Well, essentially, columns are pillars of balloons that are all part of classic decor and really exciting, great impact for in different parts of rooms or either side of doors. And really, once you've mastered columns, you've mastered a lot of classic decor.
Yeah. So you say classic decor. What do you call classic decor? What is classic decor?
Well, for me, classic decor is everything that consists and starts in terms of a duplicate.
Okay.
So, two latex balloons consistently sized together, tied in the centre, and then used to create clusters, and then from clusters to create columns, and then from columns to maybe create arches or swags.
Okay.
And it goes on and on.
So it all begins with a duplicate.
Yeah.
Two balloons together. Okay, fantastic. Now, what else do you need?
Well, there's lots of different bits. We've got equipment, like there's poles and bases. We've got the popular knot stands here, which do have limitations, but you know, there's equipment, but there's also then ways of doing it without equipment, so you don't have to go back to the venue to be able to collect it, which of course makes it less expensive, either more profitable or less expensive for your client.
Yeah, because if you're travelling back 10 miles each way, it's your time, it's your petrol, and all of that. So yeah, that makes sense. So what are we going to do first?
Well, should we work on some poles and bases afterwards? Okay. But first I was going to show you some of the different methods. When I first was taught to do columns, I used nylon line. Yeah. And it's a popular thing. It's easy to get hold of, inexpensive. But there are some drawbacks. Firstly, tying. It cuts into your fingers quite a lot. Yeah. It's difficult to see the knot. Difficult to create a permanent knot that doesn't slip.
I really struggle anytime I've used that. Trying to tie a knot, it's just difficult for me to see it, and then it does seem to just slip. You've got to just tie loads and loads and loads of knots. Yeah.
And then importantly, when you go on to larger scale work, say if you're doing a large swag across the whole of a dance floor, the weight of the balloons will actually stretch the nylon, so then you end up with gaps, and it's not ideal. So the upgrade from using nylon line is Dacron line. So Dacron line is obviously a softer weave of material. It doesn't stretch. So if I'm doing any large scale work, I'd recommend using Dacron line. It's also soft and it won't cut into the balloons, and it's easy to see your knots, and then lots of friction on the knots. But friction is a negative as well. If you run your fingers tightly down there, you feel the heat that instantly builds up on your fingers. It burns.
Thank you for burning my fingers, Mark. That's very nice of you. Yes.
You do that again if it happens every time.
Yeah, you're right. Consistency is key. I did burn myself a second time. Thank you.
And so apart from burning yourself, it will also burn into the neck of the balloon. So that's one thing to be aware of. But I would still use this for large helium arches, for decor that's got some weight to it, because it doesn't stretch at all. But there's also another method, and today we're going to create our first column just using a 260Q attached directly to a double stuffed water weight. Personally, I prefer sand weights to that.
Let's do sand weights another time.
Yeah, we'll do a different making of weights.
Yes, that sounds like a good idea.
Fantastic. So one of the big advantages is latex against latex. When we're tying this together, it means that you're not going to get that friction.
Of course, yeah.
So the balloons are going to be all very, very happy. Yeah. And we like happy balloons.
Happy balloons are good.
So we'll start off with our duplicates. Obviously duplicates need to be consistent in size and shape, and also need to be consistently tied together. Most important about columns, I think the easiest way to teach to do it is to tie them tightly together, because if you tie them tightly, generally everybody gets the same consistency. But some people prefer to leave a bigger gap at the neck, and that's all fine. but it has to be a consistent tension between the two balloons.
I understand. Why would you leave a bigger gap? What's the reason for doing that?
Personal preference. Some people don't like the additional work of tying them tightly, and if they're using a lower quality balloon, it's more likely to burst. With Qualatex, I think it's absolutely fine to do this.
You wouldn't use anything but Qualatex balloons, would you?
I'd burn. I'd burn if I used anything but Qualatex. So we're going to take our duplets and we put them together into our cluster. That's our 4 balloon cluster.
Okay.
Place our weight directly underneath. Now this is the important bit about using a 260Q, is that you take the stretch out of the 260Q before you attach it and wrap it round. And we'll wrap that round and bring it back to the top. And then, fantastic, you've got some extras.
One I prepared earlier.
Wonderful.
I've got more than one actually.
So choose which direction your spiral's going to go in. Press the neck down.
Yeah.
Pull the stretch out of the 260 and then again figure of 8 around your 2
Just
balloons.
round 2 of the balloons. It doesn't matter which 2, just round 2 of the balloons.
Just around 2 of the balloons.
Okay.
So we can continue with that. Obviously making sure that we're going in the right pattern for our design that we choose. Now we are doing a spiral here, but there are lots and lots and lots of variations, and it'd be really, really good if more people use different variations.
Yeah.
It costs you no more, but really adds some creativity to the design.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Let's put that on the floor now and let's continue with... I'll continue passing now. Oh, wait a second, wait, I need, oh, we're not using that, no, sorry. We're doing it without the stand. Next.
So
sorry, I'm new here.
So the other bit that's really important is that we always ensure that the consistency continues in the tension between the 260Q and the next layer.
Okay.
And that's why if you're working in teams, it's always good to have one person that physically packs, because if I need to make a column here exactly the same height, I want to make sure that the tension between the clusters is the same.
So you're really pushing that down quite hard?
I am, because I think the way to ensure that you get consistency is to go to the limit, the natural limit of where the balloon will stop you.
Okay, all right. Well, that's not right, is it? Where's that going to go? Like that?
That's it. Okay.
Okay.
So that's all our latex in there. And then to finish off, we need to figure of 8 round our last couple of balloons.
Yeah.
And you could choose to knot off to the neck if you wanted to make it really secure to finish off.
Yeah. Perfect.
So there we have our spiraled column.
So do you leave columns like this, or do you put something on top?
Well, generally I like to put a column topper on. So to follow in with the coordination here, we have one of our new foil shapes, which I think will coordinate perfectly.
Yeah.
I've roll tied the neck with a 160 here, but it could be a 260. I'm just going to place that over the top and then just wrap that in.
That's perfect. That's really simple, Mark.
Very impactful, really easy to do.
Yeah.
And I say, because it's weighted heavily at the bottom, it's not going to easily topple over. It's actually the weight that's going to hold it up, along with the consistency of the product that we've used.
Because when you look at the cost of what you've got there, I mean, how many balloons have you got? 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you've got a pack of 11-inch, a couple for the weight, a bit of Dacron, and 1 foil.
Yeah. And
not Dacron, sorry, 260.
260. And one of the beauties of this is if somebody's struggling with budget, if they've got, say, a venue with 15 tables in it.
Yeah.
bouquets of 3, which are normally the least expensive thing you'd put on a table, can really eat into the budget. But do they always add that impact and value? It might be better to do 3 or 4 individual columns in a room to create more impact and actually less cost.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. I can't believe it just used one 260Q.
Just a single 260Q. Yeah, they actually stretch uninflated to over 7 feet.
Yeah.
So really, really cool.
All right, yeah.
But that's not the only method.
Okay. Well, let's put this to the, should we move this
Move
one
this
out of the way? Okay, so that's method 1.
Yeah, so I've mentioned that uniformity and consistency, really, really important. The other thing that's really important is durability.
Okay.
So why would you use another method? Well, another method would be used if you're worried about the longevity of the balloons, what they're going to come into contact with. Is it wind? Is it a bad surface that you're going to put your base onto?
Okay.
And this is where poles and bases start to become really, really useful.
Okay.
So knot lamps, really, really popular in the industry, and a lot of people use these.
What do you call them?
Knot lamps.
Why knot lamps?
I don't know.
Is it knot as in KNOTT because you get them from IKEA?
I think so.
Because we got this one from Argos.
Did you?
Yeah, $12.99.
Argos lamps.
$12.99 for 2. So
these are really inexpensive, and obviously they're not going to damage the balloon because they've got a nice powder coated or sprayed finish, and they pack down very, very small, which means they're really easy to take to a venue wherever you're going to use them.
Yeah.
They have their limitations, and I think it's really important to discuss what those limitations are. They are okay for window displays, fantastic for that. Okay for indoor use where they're not going to come into contact with anybody.
Okay.
But they have a really low fulcrum point.
Yeah.
So because the bases are so small, they even at this height, it's very, very easy to topple them over.
Yeah.
And with most balloons, when you put them on the base, the balloon will still be touching the floor.
Yeah.
Which means that there are going to be occasions for durability where you're going to choose to use a proper pole and base, where the base is much, much wider and your balloons are protected from the floor, tarmac even, and where they're so stable that somebody could accidentally bump into them and they wouldn't fall over.
It makes sense. So we've got a picture of one on the screen right now. But could you use the Aeropole system? Could you use the base, because that's a big old base.
It's a great base, and I have used the Aeropole system for a quite small column, about this size, outside 2 Valentines ago.
Yeah.
And we were doing work outside a shop, but I don't know if anybody remembers back then, the weather was atrocious. So I thought, if I put even air poles and bases as a standard, they're going to get blown over.
Yeah.
So I used the wider, bigger base, and yes, they were blown over to about a 25-degree angle permanently, but they stayed up and the decor did the job and they look great.
Because I've seen some of the Aeropole columns, people have done them with the sort of, they've put 5 or maybe even all 7 of the poles just going straight up instead of an arch.
Yeah.
They're phenomenal. I'm not sure why you would use something that's 35 feet tall, but I guess you can.
Where there's a will.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll start using our knot lamp now, or our Argos lamp now, and I'm going to show you a slightly different type of spiral. Okay. This is a slow spiral.
Yeah.
So for this, we're going to use a duplicate of one colour and a duplicate of another.
Okay.
Ta-da! I'm going to drop these together into a cluster. Yeah, you could do that. Yeah. But we've no need to for indoor use.
Okay.
So what we're going to do this time is we're actually going to place one side and then the other, push them away from each other, and then slide down to the next.
Just like that?
Just like that. And then we can continue.
Okay. So you want another purple?
One of those.
Another black? What colour is that? It's probably not purple, it's probably called...
Purple violet.
It is purple violet. Hey.
So one way, one the other, and then slide down. And as you can see, we still get our spiral. Yeah. But on this occasion, the spiral takes longer to complete a full 360. Yeah. So we call it a slow spiral.
Yeah, I see. Okay, now...
And that's as far as we can go without putting the rest of our...
Okay, let's put that on the floor, and I've got the rest of the the lamp. Almost seems a waste to buy a lamp, a floor lamp, and then use it for something
Throw away
like
the
this.
electrics.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so that's that. There's the purple, violet, and the black.
So we've got to make sure we continue in the same way. Now, as you can see, it's very, very quick to load these on.
Yeah, it is. You're loading them quicker than I can give them to you. Oh. It's black one.
But I'm going to demonstrate there is one disadvantage. If this was outside, you wouldn't use this method.
Why not?
And the reason is, if you have a failure or somebody bursts a balloon, all 4 balloons aren't held together. So if I just quickly put that on, and you can imagine one goes, so that's sitting upright, all of a sudden they can all come off, and they'll continue to come off all the way down the spiral. So this is only an indoor method.
Okay.
Making sure I push down each time.
Yeah.
Should have room for one more. Okay.
Okay.
So again, we can finish this off with a balloon on the top.
So is there any chance these top 4 could just pop off there? Because
they could quite easily pop off, but what I'm going to use is the 260 that's on the end of our topper to actually tie them into the pole.
All right, okay. So, I love this balloon, by the way. This Day of the Dead.
So I'm going to wrap that further down. And in.
Yeah.
And then if you take that one all the way round at that level, around the pole, and then we tie them off together all the way to the pole, then the top will hold it all together.
Yeah. That's great. So quick to make. I mean, I know you've inflated these before with the Precision Air, which was super quick.
Yeah.
But once you've got them, you can. It's just so quick to put together. So if you were to put these in one of the big decor bags, take it all with you. The actual time on
site's reduced down to an absolute minimum.
That's
but very, very easy to create something that's really pretty. Also, again, when Qualatex print balloons, we were consistently making sure that the top of the balloon, it's an all-over print.
Yeah.
So the top of the balloon works in a column.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it doubly versatile. You don't just have to have a top print balloon or a plain balloon.
Yeah.
You can now have one balloon that works as well in bouquets as it also does in decor.
Fantastic. Yeah, so one thing I would say is that I'm wearing my watch today. Mark is not wearing a watch. If you're doing this, you wouldn't wear a watch, would you? Would you?
It would depend.
Because I'd just be a bit worried. If I was to put my hand in there to try and grab the pole now,
don't
I'd be
worry,
worried about
Greg,
it bursting.
it's Qualatex.
All right, okay. Shall I try it? No, I won't. So let's move this one out of the way. Okay, so that's method 2. I really like that one. I like that balloon. That's
beautiful,
great.
Isn't it?
Okay, so the third technique.
So again, we're going to use another knot lamp.
Here's another one I prepared earlier.
Fantastic. And again, we're going to start off with 11-inch balloons downsized to 9 inches, tied into duplets.
There you go, there's one, there's another.
Fantastic. Same technique initially. But what we're going to do is not use 11-inch next. What we're going to use is 5-inch balloons next.
I've got some of those. Let me just pop downstairs.
Okay. Wonderful. So this is called the alternative square pack design.
Okay.
Okay, and I'll show you why. Square is obviously because we've got a outer square with the 4 balloons together in a cluster, and it's alternative because alternative sizes. So we drop that down, and now we put our 11-inch loop.
Okay, all right. Escaping.
Fantastic. Again, same technique. But what's happened is that you end up with the square of the column continuing upwards.
Yeah.
And the spiral is happening on the alternate size.
Okay.
So the only important thing is we make sure that this alternate balloon here is no smaller than half the diameter of the outer balloon.
Okay.
Otherwise, these two balloons will start to touch and push against each other, and then you won't be able to continue a consistent column.
Okay. So we're not doing a swirl.
We're not doing a swirl on this occasion.
Okay.
So very, very easy to do. I think we better put the rest of
the... let's put that on the floor. Okay, so you're going to say something there. It's very easy to do.
It's very easy to do with two colours, but it also gives you a much, much bigger variety of opportunities to put in a different colour mix.
Yeah, yeah.
And it looks very, very different to a spiral, particularly when you've got them either side of a doorway or a catwalk, because the spiral visually takes you off to either side, whereas this will keep you in a direct column.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So there's another one.
So, see if you can keep it now.
Don't put me under time pressure. There's one.
Let's put Greta under pressure.
I'm sweating. It is hot today, by the way. It's about 26 degrees outside. Nearly there, nearly there. Oh, you are quick. There we are.
So you can see you get a really nice line to the design. Really cool.
That says to me quite corporate. I quite like
very
that.
corporate.
I'm
exactly.
very into sort of symmetry and stuff. I really like that.
But again, we can use a topper.
Yep.
If you want to pass that all the way around the pole, nice and tight.
Okay.
And then when we tie that in, the 260 will do the job.
Where would you be without 260s?
I'll be using 160.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I like that. I think that's my favourite. Yeah. I really like it. It's so simple, but and I've never actually seen one. We've never done one before that has just got the little 5-inch in there. Yeah. Okay. Well, Mark, we've got 3 different designs here. I want to talk to you a little bit about costs and about added value and about, well, what money people can make doing these sort of things.
My first tip with this is the fact that sell your work on the overall perceived value of what you finish with.
Yeah.
The fact that you've got to go back and get a base isn't necessarily of any interest to your customer.
Yeah, yeah.
But what you end up with is, so where you've got economies of scale, like where we used the 260Q all the way through the centre, you know, that's your additional margin. That's something you want to try and do. But I would have a price that covers the worst scenario and make sure your designs are just different, beautiful. We've used printed balloons, we've used different spirals, of which there are hundreds and hundreds to choose from. Be a little bit creative, do something that works for your client and coordinates and looks good, and then you can always be selling at the upper end. And it's a lot easier to quote somebody when you just go, beautiful columns are X, than actually saying, oh, well, I'll have to go back and get a pole and base for that, so I'm going to charge you a few extra pounds for that. You know, I think it's much better to be confident with your price and just say this is what it is. Yeah,
and like you say, it's the perceived value of that. It's the impact, it's the size. This is to either side. This is your entrance decoration or whatever. It's what makes the impact. So it's not a few balloons that don't cost that much with another helium-filled balloon on top.
Exactly.
It's the impact. So That is fantastic. Well, Mark, thank you very much for showing us those. A real insight, as always. I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you very much for... Oh, Mark, no, you know what we've done? Or what we've not done?
What haven't we done?
We do question of the week now.
Do we?
So because it's the first time we filmed with the question of the week with you. So I'm going to offer you question of the week, so you can ask everybody a question, and hopefully they'll put comments and things in under YouTube and.
Well, I guess
Facebook.
Really talking about difference of columns and go, yeah, let's see other people's work. What's your favourite classic decor column?
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
Leave a comment down below or show us a picture. Thanks very much for watching. Thanks for subscribing. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Probably why you're doing so well in a retail environment. You say it's offering
it's offering
like
something that the big high street shops don't do.
Yeah. Pokeball. And Pokeball is, do you remember Pokemon Go in the summer? Everybody was going crazy, walking around with their phones trying to catch things. This is the thing that catches the Pokemons. Pokemons? What's the plural for Pokemon? I think it should be Pokemon, not Pokemons. That just sounds wrong.